In today's video, I am going to show you how I created this custom Webflow CMS calendar from scratch using AI. But not just am I going to show you how I created this feature, I'm going to show you my exact process so that you can build whatever CMS feature you want. Let's get into it. Hey friends, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So it has been a sweet minute since I've made a Webflow tutorial, but we're back. So I recently started on a new directory site called the Running Directory Canada, and basically it's a website where you can find run clubs and races in your city in Canada. And throughout this process, I've been really tinkering around with different AI tools. And so one of the features that I wanted to build for this site is a weekly schedule so that people could basically see what run clubs were organizing events at what day of the week. And so I ended up building this little feature here, which is a CMS powered calendar where you can see every single day what events are on. And so the way it works is you can just go ahead, click through it, and it will automatically tell you the day of the week, and it's going to sort it by what day is today, and today's Friday. It will also dynamically populate all of the individual events that sit inside of a CMS collection to its corresponding days. And I did all of this without using any of the Webflow native features, and I also didn't use any third-party plugins in order to make this happen. Now, typically when I want to do some more advanced things with the Webflow CMS, I typically turn to Finsweet. Now, in case you don't know what Finsweet Attributes is, it's a free library of some of the best scripts that you can use to do some pretty awesome things with the Webflow CMS. Now, some of the more popular Finsweet Attribute plugins are the CMS slider, where you can essentially connect a collection list to a slider element inside of Webflow. Another very popular one that I personally use all of the time is the Finsweet CMS filters. And so if you, for example, have a blog page or a product page, you can add all of the features that will then automatically do the sorting for you. And so overall, an absolute gem of a resource that you should 100% check out. But when I was looking into my particular use case of setting up a CMS calendar, I actually just came to the conclusion that it's too narrow of a use case that I would probably find a solution inside of Finsweet. And so I decided that I wanted to see whether or not ChatGPT could help me write a script that would allow me to build a custom feature like that, and the results were absolutely mind-blowing. Now, just straight off the bat, the main inspiration behind trying to do this with AI was because I was reviewing how the Finsweet CMS slider worked. And the way the CMS slider works is that you first of all start off by pulling in a slider element inside of Webflow. So it's just the standard slider element. But because in Webflow you can't natively place CMS items into a slider, what you do is you then go ahead and you place a collection list below the slider, just like that. You then go ahead, style all of your different cards. Then you also install the Finsweet CMS slider script, and I'll leave a link to all of the resources down below. But then when you go ahead and publish it, what happens is that instead of it showing the static content inside of your slider, the script will pull the cards out of your CMS collection and then dynamically place it into your slider element. And that is how you end up building something like this, a CMS slider. And so I was thinking about how exactly this works, and I figured, well, if I can use a script to essentially pull values from a CMS collection list into a static slider, then theoretically I should be able to pull the same type of information from a collection list into a static calendar. And that is exactly what I did. So the first part of all of this was to create my static calendar. Now, there's nothing special about this. I basically got a div block, which I called calendar wrapper, basically set it to grid with 3 columns. And then within that grid, I dropped a bunch of child div blocks, which I am calling the calendar day item, and every single one of those day items represents one day of the week. So I dropped another header wrapper in there that basically allowed me to place the day number, and then also the name of the day or the weekday title. And then within that, I also dropped in a list or a wrapper for all of my different events. And so in this particular case, you can see I've got a static placeholder event in here. But the idea is that when I then get my collection list in here, that it will start populating the individual lists with the different events inside of my CMS collection that correspond to that day. Which brings me to point number 2. The second thing that I did was I then imported my CMS collection. And so again, all you need to do is just drag in your collection list wrapper and then start styling your cards. So this is a little process I went through where I basically pulled in different CMS items. And just like that, we were at the point where things were looking good. And then it was time to think about how the actual script will work. Now, because I've used the Webflow CMS slider, I've also used CMS filters from Finsweet, I know that the way it works is that you typically tag items inside of your CMS collection, and you also tag your static items. So what I did to start off is I went ahead and I started tagging my items by the value that I wanted it to sort by. So what I did was I selected the calendar item collection item, and then I went to the settings tab and I just simply added a custom attribute of data day of the week. And the reason why I did that is because I obviously want to sort all of the items inside of this collection list by the day of the week. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just applying the name of my custom attribute, and the value is an actual CMS field inside of this collection, which just basically pulls the day of the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on. The next part was to then also tag my static calendar day item. So every single div block for my calendar day item represents a different day of the week. And so what I will want to tell the script is what day corresponds with what div block. So the way I did that was I just selected the div block, and then once again I just added a data attribute, which was data minus day Monday. That way, in theory, what I should be able to do is to get all of the events inside of my CMS collection that are, for example, Saturday or Sunday, and then sort it into its corresponding field. So with that being said, how did I approach it with ChatGPT? The first thing I did was I actually published my page as is. So here it is. You can see I've got my static calendar with all my placeholders, and then I also have my CMS collection. Now, here's where you can really take advantage of these AI tools. The first thing that I did was I clicked on inspect so I could see the source code. And then what I would do is I'd select the entire section that I'm working on. So in this case, it's my run club calendar component. From there, I would just go ahead, I'd copy the element, and then I would head over to ChatGPT. So first thing that you want to do is you just want to clearly explain what it is that you want to do. So here's what I wrote. I have a static calendar inside of my Webflow page and a collection list with events that I want to add to my static calendar. I want you to group them by the data day, and so this is the custom element that I added where the days match up. Now, you might have to play around with this a bit, but my recommendation is to just explain what you want to do, hit the enter button, and then see what happens. So typically what will happen is it will go ahead and it will go through some reasoning, which brings me to the second point. The model that I used in order to create this script is ChatGPT 01. Now, there are a whole bunch of different models that you can use, 4.0, 4.0 with schedule. These 03 ones are pretty new. But the reason why I used 01 is because when you are doing specifically coding challenges and something that's a bit more advanced, you want to include reasoning, and that's something that GPT 4.0 doesn't do. And all that really means is that you'll just run into more errors, especially when you start fixing certain parts of your script. It will just run into a situation where it will just completely wreck what you've done. So I've just found that with 01 I have a lot more success. So with that being said, grab the code, and then what we want to do is we want to go back to Webflow and we want to go to our page settings, and then we just want to paste our code. So just like that. So we're going to go ahead, save it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to publish it. Now, what am I expecting? So I'm still expecting to see these cards here. So basically my placeholder cards. In fact, let me just remove this quickly. And I'll also remove my collection list wrapper because I don't want to see that either. But what I'm expecting is that now it will automatically look at my collection list that contains all of those different events, and that it will then sort it into the corresponding fields. So let's go and check it out. And just like that, it has automatically done the job. It's added all of my Monday events into the Monday table, or the Monday div block, all the Tuesday events into the Tuesday one, and so on. And all of that was created in less than 20 minutes using some AI code and, just some very pointed prompts. Now, this got me super excited, and I decided that I wanted to see how far I could take this. So the next part in all of this was to make some adjustments to the overall look of it. So the first thing that I wanted to change is I wanted this number here to be obviously the current day, because right now it's Friday 31st. So ideally what I want is in this first block here to have the Friday div block with the day number in it. And then I wanted to continue on with, Monday, Tuesday, and so on. Okay, so that it makes sense how the calendar looks. And so once again, all I needed to do, jump in here, and then I wanted to say adjust the script. And my recommendation is to say adjust the script, otherwise it will just write a new script for you and it will just remove what it's already done for you. And then all we want to say is I want to pull in today's date, and I want you to then move the div block with today's weekday to the front. For example, if today is Friday, I want the Friday div block to be the first. I also want you to populate the number, or what is it, the weekday number with today's with the corresponding number. For example, today is 31, tomorrow would be 1 etc. And then, because it already knows our script, you don't actually have to rewrite the script. It will just go through the process of having to think about what it is that you want. And it will actually kind of show you what it's thinking about, which is quite neat. But then eventually it will go through the process of then writing, or in this case, adjusting your script. So let's wait for a quick little second for it to happen. This doesn't take very long usually. It's usually a matter of a few seconds. And yep. And I was thinking about it a lot, but we should get there in a second. I mean, to be honest, because this is a video, I'm kind of rushing through it, through the prompting a bit. Usually this goes a little bit faster, but let's just wait for a second to see what it comes up with. There we go. So we'll go ahead, write the block, it will write the script, and then we should be good to go. Now, one thing that I do want to make sure of is that the sorting is still intact. So I'm just going to say, make sure that the sorting feature is still intact. Because like I said before, one of the things that can happen with this is that it actually goes ahead and it will then basically remove the previous section that it wrote for you. And just looking through all of the comments here, it does look like it did remove it. And so what we want to do is we just want it to adjust the script so that includes that part as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to copy it, we're going to jump back in. And once again, I'm just going to paste the script. We can just completely override it, save. And what I am hoping for now is that it worked. Now, one important thing that I wanted to add is that I recommend giving all your dynamic elements class names, because then when you copy and paste over the source code, it will actually find those class names and then you won't have to make adjustments to it. But let's have a little look what it came up with. Boom, just like that, all done. So you can see today it's Friday 31st. So the calendar is set up correctly. All the sorting still works perfectly and we're pretty much good to go. Now, this can keep going on. Maybe I'll show you one more little feature. One thing that I wanted to do was then make some optimization to, the web and the mobile setup of this particular calendar. Now, a few things that you can do. You can either make a few native changes. So if, for example, you want to change certain types of layouts of cards inside of Webflow, you can just go ahead and change it directly in here. But with this particular feature, what I decided to do was, instead of using something like the Finsweet CMS filter, I actually just decided to just tell ChatGPT how to adjust it. So here's what I did. I have another edition. I only want to display 3 days at a time, starting with today, i.e. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then I want to use a slider to allow the web visitor to move up and down days. Now, here's a little tip. Because I've already added the slider arrows, what I'll do is I actually specify the class of the buttons. That way it will automatically know which ones to kind of look out for. I have already added 2 slider buttons with the class name of slider arrow. And then we can just go ahead, run the script. And so when I did this the first time, obviously I'm doing it a lot smoother now just because I've done this a few times and I know what doesn't work and what does work. But I managed to build out this entire thing in maybe a little under 3 hours. And so yeah, you can really take things to the next level, and you just really need to think through the logic of how each step in the process will work. And also, I would actually build it in blocks as well. So instead of trying to do all of it at once, I would actually just do it one little feature at a time. And that way you can kind of keep an eye on what's working, what's not working along the way. And that will make it a lot easier for you to make sure that it all works. So one more time, we're going to hit the save button. Then we are going to hit the publish button. And then we're going to see whether or not what we were trying to build works. Okay. So we're just going to wait. Okay, let's check out the solution. And now, just like that, we've got a slider that will then automatically move up by 1 day. And all of that was just created without any third-party plugins, just straight up prompting in ChatGPT with ChatGPT-01. And I'm sure you could use other models as well, of course. And yeah, this is pretty awesome because this creates all sorts of really exciting opportunities. Now, I added a few more features in the actual live site. I'm not going to walk you through every single one of those steps simply because you've seen how it works, you see how I do my troubleshooting, but I added a little feature where it would only display 3 events at a time, but it would then expand if you clicked on the button to see more. The actual filtering for the different days actually happens, in the collection list level. So sorry, not day, for the location happens at the collection list level. So you can actually just apply a filter for the city page that you're on, and that way you don't need to do any custom scripting around that. But yeah, with these custom scripts, you're able to build a lot of things inside of the Webflow CMS that you, for starters, can't do natively, but might also not be able to do with something like Finsweet Attributes. Now, I have built a lot of different little features with different types of scripts. Another one that I created was this little tagging system here. Now, one of the kind of things that I find a little bit frustrating inside of Webflow CMS natively is just how you work with tags. So you'll typically have to add a nested CMS collection that links back to this item with tags, and then you have to go through the process of setting up a collection list here for filtering. But what I did in this particular case is I actually just added a hidden field that was a comma separated string string of tags. And so it would have like evening runs, comma, social runs. And what it does is it basically breaks that script into multiple parts, adds these tags here if it can find any of them, and then as soon as I jump in, it just automatically adds them. And so this works in combination with the Webflow, with Finsweet's CMS filter. Now, I'm obviously super pumped about it. You know, it got me out of retirement to make a Webflow tutorial. So if you want to learn more about it, please let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see how else I'm using different AI tools on this project, there are 2 additional videos that I made. One on how to build your MVP for a directory site like this, and then the other video was on how to find data for your directory site, and I use quite a lot of AI tools in that as well. And so ultimately, really the possibilities are endless. Now, I want to leave you with just a few quick little takeaways, just so you can kind of understand what to focus on if you want to kind of build out your own CMS feature. Number 1 is use an AI model that has reasoning. So a model like ChatGPT-01 is really good. That might only be available on the paid plan, but then there also, there's DeepSeek, and then I'm sure Claude has got a few great coding features. So definitely use something that's a bit more advanced with, reasoning. Otherwise, some of the models like GPT-4o will just kind of take your code, and sometimes it will go down tangents and just completely wreck the thing. The second thing is that you'll get to the answer a lot faster if you actually provide the source code for the section that you're trying to work on. With that also being said, if you do ever run into a situation where you've got some pretty big bug, the process that I follow for that is I simply copy the source code of the particular page. I also add the current script that I'm using, and then I just quickly describe what I'm trying to achieve and what's not working, and then usually in one go it will fix it for you. Okay, this was a lot of fun. If there are any questions, please do let me know. Other than that, I'll see you back here for the next video. Bye.